I'll start over. This is the Business and Governance Committee, and I'm calling it to order at 9:16 on March 9th. Rosie, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do have a quorum with one member absent, Ms. Michelle Bush.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to start by recognizing Charlie Hogquist. I just can't even believe that he's here for his last B&G meeting. How many years have you been on this board in total? Well, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for always giving wise and sage advice. Thank you for all those hard decisions you've had to make on the Disability Committee and on this board. Thank you for surviving the debacle in the early 2000s. And thanks for sharing all of your insights. And I am going to miss you. Does anybody else have anything for Charlie? Greg?
Although I did make a few comments at our Disability Committee meeting, I would just like to echo those and just say, Charlie, thank you for your service. You have been the epitome of a fiduciary on this board, always looking out for the best interests of the trust and representing all of our members. And we just really appreciate your leadership and your guidance, and just a big, just really heartfelt thank you for all the years of service that you've provided. Thank you.
All right. I just want to remind the committee members that when we're voting on action items, please use the board voting system when making a motion, when providing a second, and when voting. Additionally, if you would like to speak on a matter, please use the board voting system to enter the speaking queue. Rosie, do we have any public comment?
No, Madam Chair, we do not have any public comment this morning.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the action items. The first one we have Jessica Taylor is going to present its staff's recommendation to approve the results of the 2023 Active Police Safety Board Member and Retiree Board Member elections.
Good morning. So 2 of our elected board members, Charlie being one of them, Charlie and Lou Maggi, are going to complete their 4-year terms as of March 31st. So staff held elections for these 2 positions over the last few months. As you may already know, Lou Maggi was the only eligible nominee for his current active police safety member seat, and he will therefore begin his 2nd term on April 1st. We had 2 nominees for the retiree board member seat, Chris Brewster and John Hemmerling. Voting concluded on February 28th, and Chris Brewster received approximately 65% of the votes. Therefore, Chris will join the board as of April 1st and attend his first board meeting as a member of the board in May. If there are no questions, staff asks the committee to recertify the results of these 2 elections by a majority vote.
And with all votes in, Madam Chair, this motion passes 5-0.
Want to just sit next to me? Can I ask you a question? Yes. Excuse me for a minute. All right, moving on to number 2. Staff's recommendation to approve the SDCERS action plan for fiscal year ending June 30, 2024. And Greg.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to see the committee this morning. Before the committee is an action item to approve the SDCERS action plan for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. And the SDCERS action plan is a living document, and it serves to identify the critical projects that we must have to move our organization forward, both kind of in the near term, midterm, and even the long term. So it's kind of a way to align our resources and make sure everybody stays focused and consistently align our efforts in the organization. The action plan is built around 4 key priorities: excellence in servicing our members, investment program excellence, data accuracy and system integrity, And finally, leadership in the pension system governance. Now, we believe these priorities support our mission to deliver accurate and timely service to our participants and ensure the trust fund's safety, integrity, and growth, and responsibly achieve our strategy of 100% actuarial funding. In your meeting materials is the proposed SDCERS action plan for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024, which includes, from management's perspective, 14 critical projects. And rather than going through all 14 critical projects with you this morning, I picked 4, which I find are very, very important that we really should keep it focus on. And number 1, first and foremost, is reopening the city's pension tiers. In this current fiscal year, we're hoping to finish up phase 2, which is the current employees who were hired during the time the plans were closed. And in the coming year, we're hoping that the city will complete the final phase 3 for the former employees that were hired during the time the plans were closed, but left before the implementation of phase 2. And I would say that it's imperative that we remain focused on this plan to get this right. And so that is why it's on our action plan and something that is near and dear to all of our hearts. Marcel will be providing this committee an update on the status of the project a little bit later in our agenda. The next project is benefit process best practices. This action plan project challenges the existing ways that we process our member services requests and challenges to say, is there a better way to do that? And if so, to rechange the process to make it better, change the computer system, and also provide documentation and training. And I would say that this is a mission-critical project for the future success of SDCERS as we're going through this demographic age wave, and a lot of our subject matter experts are retiring. So this is a very critical project that's been going on a number of years, and we should be wrapping this project up within the coming year. The third item is kind of related to the benefit process best practices, and that's updating our pension administration system, which we call IRIS. And that is occasionally needs to be updated by our system vendor, and that system vendor has identified that we need to do the upgrade, and that has a very large ripple effect, which requires a lot of the IT infrastructure to be updated. And so you'll see in the action plan, there is a very complex multi-year effort that we are in the middle of to upgrade our information technology platforms, and I believe that'll take us to 2026. So mission critical, and my hat's off to Michelle Wegener, our Chief Information Officer, and her team for getting us off to a good start on that project. And last but certainly not least is investment program best practices. While if you look at investment programs across the United States for public pension plans, they're all unique in their own right with regards to the investments and their risk profiles. But if you take a step back and look at best practices, there is an opportunity to challenge it to say, is there anything here at SDCERS that we can do differently in administering our investment program? And so Karina Coleman, our Chief Investment Officer, is leading an effort to do a best practice review of our investment program operations. This is a little bit different than our Chief Internal Auditor looking at our existing policies to see if we are in compliance with how we existing run the program. We've conducted this audit, but in the future, what we would like to do is challenge what we do to see if we want to do something different. And so that is a good part of governance, and so we'll be hoping to complete that in the coming year. On a closing note, I'd like to revisit one of my comments, is that this document is a living document. And so while this is our proposal today, it is quite possibly we may add or change things along the way. For example, we have a board offsite coming up in April, and so there may be key deliverables or items that we want to add to the action plan at that time. So with that, I would be glad to answer any questions that you have on the 2024 action plan.
I want to thank you for putting this together, and especially in the detail that you did. You know, I'm an accountant, I like a lot of detail, and you gave it to us. Some things I thought were just sort of in the normal course of business, so those things that are not in the normal course of business, are not on this plan, correct? I mean, like the processing of payroll or benefits, and, you know, those tasks that the agency does every day, all day. So all of this is in addition to that.
Correct.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That is amazing what you need to accomplish and have accomplished with a relatively small staff. So I want to thank you for that. I thank all of you for that. And with that, I need a motion to approve. Okay, and a second. And we're going to vote. All votes are in.
Yes, Madam Chair. With that, the motion passes 5-0.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Ted. Ted is here to provide the information for the new administrative budget for the fiscal year ending 2024.
Yay. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Staff recommends approval of the SDCERS FY 2024 budget. And turning to the big picture, our administrative budget is $17.1 million, but only up 2.8% for the fiscal year. And this graph highlights our process of costs over the last decade. And turning to the budget components, I like this pie chart primarily because it highlights that fully 61% of our costs are associated with salaries and benefits. There are 4 other categories associated with this, including general operations, legal fees, IT, and then our capital expenses. And turning to salaries and benefits, regarding our staffing plan, SDCERS is growing. We were estimated to be at 51 heads for FY 2023, and we're going to 54 for FY 24. We have increased 1 position in IT and 2 positions in benefits administration. The increase in benefits administration are due to the reopening of the city's benefit tiers. Our overall budget for salaries and benefits is growing to $10.8 million, related primarily to the growth in the headcount, plus city negotiated salary increases and an estimated salary increase for FY 2024. The city is currently in negotiations and will finalize that at some point in the future. And turning to legal fees, our legal fees budget is going down. We're decreasing by an estimated $70,000, of which the lion's share is a decrease in litigation expense. But as you know, litigation expense is subject to timing and the actual filing of litigation. But you can thank Mr. Tran for managing such an important part of our budget. And lastly, as highlighted in Greg's previous comments, our capital expense plan, if I just take a look at the 9 total projects that are on this list and only cover the top 3, the first 2 are related to the IRS pension system. These are costs that will be capitalized or expensed as necessary during the fiscal year. And the third project, once again, is another very important IT item because it keeps our computer equipment cool. The rest of the projects all deal with satisfying SDCERS operational needs in order to provide the services that we do to our members and retirees. So as you well know, our mission requires us to deliver accurate and timely benefits and ensure the trust fund's safety and integrity and growth. The FY24 budget reflects continued cost control over administrative overhead while providing the resources necessary for us to meet these needs. And they are growing every year, as you're well aware. But I'm pleased to announce that our budget is projected to only increase by 2.8% for the full fiscal year. And with that, I am open to any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions? Ted, can you give us a little detail on the pay increases? What percentage increases you have in there? And I understand there's some carryover from last year.
So in the memo, in the memo, I provide a significant level of detail, but I won't read the memo. The idea is the city has negotiated special salary increases in FY '23, of which we will be impacted again coming up in April. Then we'll have a full year of that in FY '24. Consequently, we have estimated for FY '24 approximately 5%. But once again, it's dependent upon the city's final negotiations and where that winds up.
There's a combination of some 2023 that's a carryover into 2024, and that's part of the increase that's reflected in your schedule.
Absolutely.
And then it's my understanding that Sarah Dixon will have a request for additional funds for the IT audit. Is that included here?
Yes, it is. It's under office operations expense, and her budget actually rolls up into that particular area.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Ted. If there are no questions, it's moved, and I need a second. Ready to vote? All votes are in?
And with that, Madam Chair, the motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ted. I know how difficult it is to put that together, and you always do such a tremendous job, so we sometimes take it for granted that it's going to be perfect, but it always is perfect, and I thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on. Speaking of Sarah Dixon, the IT internal audit plan execution and RFP.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's good to see you. In the July 2022 meetings, the Audit Committee, the B&G Committee, and the Board approved staff's proposal to hire an IT internal audit expert to help us select which audits to conduct over the next 5 years. That project was completed in November, and there are 5 recommended IT audits. Given my need to focus on operational audits and other audit areas, and given the technical expertise required to conduct these audits, I'm recommending that we outsource execution. The estimated pricing suggests it's going to cost between $50,000 and $100,000 per year. The SDCERS contracting policy says that if costs are going to be between $50,000 and $100,000 a year, it can be delegated to the CEO, and the CEO can also select the method of procurement. If approved, I intend to get competitive bids for these contracts. In conclusion, we are asking the board to direct the CEO to select outside firms to conduct these internal audits over the next 5 fiscal years for an amount not to exceed $100,000. The Audit Committee voted on this item yesterday. It passed 3-0. It will be going to the board tomorrow. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah, Sarah, just a quick one. This $100,000, is that per year or is that for the full 5-year effort?
That's per year. I don't anticipate it costing that much, but that's the threshold that can be under that can be delegated to the CEO.
Okay, thank you.
And looking at the complexity of that, it's a great idea to outsource it. I mean, we just don't have that kind of expertise, and it was really an eye-opener for me how complicated that whole area is.
It really is.
Yeah. So thank you for that. I'll move it. Do we have a second? Call for the vote? Oh, me.
And with all votes in, Madam Chair, this motion passes 4-0.
Thank you, Rosie. All right, we have no speakers for action item number 5. Unless, Johnny, you have more to contribute to it than what you have included in our packet.
I don't, but I'll answer any questions you may have.
All right, are there any questions for the changes or the amendments to the various policies? Hearing no questions, I need to vote.
And with all votes in, this motion passes 5-0.
Great. Thank you. That concludes all of our action items. Now we move to the reports. And our first report is from Cynthia Queen, Member Services.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
I don't know if that works. As you all know, we moved our offices up to a more efficient space on the 8th floor, and we're very happy about that. Now, I'm happy to report that none of our members were lost in that process. Made sure that they could all find us. I believe this is because we widely advertised our move, and we actually sent a postcard to our entire membership letting them know where we moved. So it's been great. Now, our members absolutely love it, as do we. And the entire concept was designed around having a welcome center. These are Greg's words, because we're very welcoming people. And customer service was absolutely our top goal. We have members visit us every single day of the week, and every single person that comes in is greeted by our friendly team, and they are served right away. Now, the members who are scheduled for a retirement appointment receive their information in bright professional offices delivered by bright professional people. And then, I love that part, sorry. And then those who come for assistance with their health reimbursements and enrollment have a private space to meet with a member of the health team. And our members pop in for all different kinds of reasons. You know, we have a very diverse membership, and lots of people like to receive their documents in person, drop them off, talk to someone, pick them up that way, and we are all about every kind of service. I like to think that they like to come visit us because we are so friendly, but I also note that the call center keeps a stocked candy jar on the counter, and lately the Lifesavers have been a big hit. So we lure our members to visit us. Now, I want to share a couple anecdotes that we received from members who were in our office just this past week, because it really warmed my heart. Keeping all confidentiality, there was someone who had previously worked here long, long ago who commented on how very professional the staff, the office, and the entire procedure is, stating that it was a major improvement over how it had been some 25 years ago. Now, I would hope so. But at the same time, I really appreciate that compliment, because we've worked really, really hard for a million reasons to really just make everything as well governed as we can. And then another member, I really enjoyed this one, because this was a person who does full customer service out in the field and really interacts with numerous departments throughout the city. And this person went on and on to one of our team about how knowledgeable, helpful our call center is, and how our call center was the best in the whole city. Now, I like to say that too, but I appreciated hearing it from a member. And then on the virtual side of life, I've told you before that when the pandemic started, we really had to revamp how we would prepare members for their appointments and all the virtual activity we did. So a piece that we really worked on was promoting these short videos that we had created that explain how retirement works, and another one that explains how drop works. So before someone gets through the process of getting to an appointment, we've already sent them a link and asked them to watch those videos. Now, feeling like a TikTok star here, because in the past few years, these two videos each have received about 4,000 views each. We only have 10,000 members, and only a portion of them are ready to retire. This is like huge numbers compared to when, other people might watch some videos. So just very excited that all of our efforts are working and just doing everything we can to educate our members and make sure they feel prepared. Now, on a separate item, Marcel is going to tell you a whole bunch of good stuff about what's going on with Proposition B and that major project. And so suffice it to say, we are quite busy working on this current phase, a small group of folks who are considering their options before they decide whether they want to join the system or not. And every single one of these has a different flavor, and it is keeping us on our toes, and we are enjoying it. We always like to have new members. Please welcome, come in. We encourage you. So going very well. And finally, on a little bit of a personal note, I just want to say, since I have been working with Charlie for these full 10 years, and obviously I work very, very closely with the retiree groups and with all of our elected folks, that Charlie, you're just such a joy. And I have to share it because I live and spend a lot of time in the harbor beach area. I cannot go on my paddleboard or do anything without looking for Charlie out on the water. And if I drive by a seal boat, I always have to look and see if it's Charlie. And I always love it when every once in a while I get a picture of some kind of sea life activity on the weekend. So you've been wonderful. I appreciate you. I'm very thankful that people care about being on our board and that we have had a successful election, as Jessica reported. So I'm just pleased to have a wonderful spring and lots of good news. And I thank you for being here and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your enthusiasm.
I have a question.
Why, yes, Tom.
So I was looking over the report on call wait times, and it seems like every time I look at that chart, it's always, we're beyond the 30 seconds. Where did we come up with that 30 seconds? Do we need more staff? Is it more a minute, minute and a half?
Thank you, Tom, very much for asking this question here. Tom and I have discussed this a little bit before, and I absolutely have an answer for you. I'll try to keep it short, Greg. There was, in the time that I've been here, there's been obviously a lot of improvements that all of us wanted to make. And long while ago, there was a lot of question of, do you answer the phones at SDCERS and do people get answers? And so we really went through a huge technology conversion, staff upgrades, staff increases, staff improvements. And I would honestly say that it kind of got to the point where it was a little bit too much, because if you want a 30-second wait time and we have security questions that we have to ask you that take close to 40 seconds because we don't want to give your money away to a scammer, it kind of affects that. So we have had discussions about changing the call wait time, but there's two factors there. One is that you can get a call wait time if you can talk as fast as I can and just jam through those questions and go, yes, somebody will call you back. Boom, next one. You can just rock that wait time. But at some point, that's going to mean that people really aren't getting the help that they need. And of course, we want that. So we had an approach where we needed to fill our staff. There were times where people did not want jobs during that pandemic. And now we only got one last position to fill, and that it is in the background check right now. So we wanted to reevaluate the wait time when we had the full staffing. In my heart, I believe it's going to go up to about a minute. But we still think that if we can answer those phone calls in a minute and a half, still thinking that's some of the best call wait time you can get in really any industry. So what is most important, I want to recap from what would have changed from 15 years ago, would be that every single call that comes in is tracked in a content management system that all big companies use. And so it goes directly into our Iris operating system. Anybody can look at it and pick it up. It is the greatest joy in my entire life, and in my entire work life, and I'm not kidding. And we ensure that people get their answer responded to, because the ticket is open or closed and you add multiple pieces to it. So it is not resolved until that ticket becomes closed and the person has received their answer. We know who they talked to, the calls are recorded, the members are informed of it. We can track down anything. So thank you so much for reading my report and for looking at all of those points. And you will, I believe, see an adjustment and an additional report from me as we talk about how those numbers will be affected to make sure that we provide the absolute best service that we can for our members. Which includes you, Tom. Thank you so much. You call anytime.
Bobby, can I add something to that real quick, too? I want to make sure that all of our board members understand that when you call SDCERS, you are connected to a live person. You do not have push 1 for retirement information, push 2 for disability information, push 3 for a person, and you're on the phone yelling, agent, I want to talk to a live body. There is a short introductory message that is updated on a regular basis with whatever pertinent things are happening. So, for example, if it's time for the COLAs, then there'll be information about that. If we have new drop rates, there'll be information about that. So there's a short message, 30 seconds.
Yep.
And then after that, you are in the queue to talk to a live person. So it is also a little bit different structure than what you are probably used to with most places that you call, where you have to go through a call tree that may be 3, 4, 5 levels deep. It is to a live person. So I am very proud of our call wait times. I think our member services team does a fabulous job on that.
Thank you. And I want to also add is because of attention that was paid by the board for a long time, saying we care about this and we want to support the team in doing this. So I thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Tom. Marcel, Benefits Administration.
Good morning. I'm going to talk about Prop B again. As Greg mentioned, it's been on our action plan for a while. It will continue to be until we get through all of this. Reminder, the plan closed back in July of 2012. So we are coming up on almost 10 years since it closed. We had phase one that completed with reopening the plan on July 10th of 2021. I had in my report that we were seeing about 60 new members a month. I actually went and looked at it this morning. We're closer to 70 new members a month. So I know the city's been doing a big push to fill their vacancies. They have a significantly high vacancy rate right now, and we're seeing that coming through in the numbers. So about 70 new general members every month coming into the new plan. On phase two, we had that initial push of about 3,200 people that joined on July 8th. And then we have some stragglers, and those are the ones that have much more complex issues. We continue to work very closely with risk management. And some of what Cynthia was talking about, there's a group of 150 that just got additional information from risk management, and so they're starting to call us and having questions on some of their options. So there are still some stragglers that we're working on. We do anticipate, as Greg said, completing all of those stragglers by the end of this fiscal year, working very closely with risk management. And then we have phase three. So phase three are people who were hired during the Prop B time. So that's July 20th, 2012 through July 10th, 2021. Wish these weren't all tens and two numbers in July. It's very confusing. So the group of people that were hired during that time period who were not employed by the city on July 8th. So that's the straggler, that's the phase three group. So I don't want to call them all separated employees anymore because 28 of them have already come back to work for the city. So of that phase three, 28 are now current employees of the city. So they were Prop B. They were not employed by the city on July 8th, which was the magic day to be part of phase two, and they are now in phase three. My understanding is the city has completed negotiations with MEA, Local 127, and the Deputy City Attorneys Association, and has brought those tentative agreements to council. I also understand they still are negotiating with Local 911, the Lifeguard Union, and Local 145, the Firefighters Union. We look forward to assisting the city with implementing those agreements once they are all finalized. We don't know the time frame on that yet, but we will continue to work with them, hope to get that done this calendar year. And then wanted to give a little bit of update on what happened after our January board meeting. So I remember at our January board meeting, the board determined how the city should be funding those Prop B members. So there were 4 pieces. There was fiscal year 22 city normal costs. Those were for the new employees that started joining back in 2021. There was fiscal 23 normal costs, which are part of that July 8th group, and fiscal 24 normal costs, which was also part of that July 8th group. And then there is a liability that is still sitting out there. So the board voted to have all of those funded with the ADC, the actuarially determined contribution, on July 1st of 2023. After the board vote, the city came back to SDCERS and said, we would like to take care of part of this in this fiscal year. So they paid for the fiscal 22 and fiscal 23 normal costs, totaled $37.5 million. That payment was made on February 1st. So what is remaining are the fiscal 24 normal costs and the amortization of that $112 million liability. So the city's ADC was anticipated to be 400.5 on July 1st of 2023. That's what you saw in the actuarial report in January. You're going to see a slightly revised actuarial report tomorrow that shows that that number is now 448.1, and that includes the fiscal 24 normal costs and that first payment of that liability. So we are moving along. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? It's really complicated. Really complicated.
It is. It's a lot of people. We're talking about upwards of 6,000 people that are impacted.
Amazing.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And
We're working through it all.
I appreciate the way that you approach it in a step-by-step way, and keeping track of all of it. It's really amazing what you've accomplished.
Thank you.
Over all of these years.
It has been a number of years, yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you. All right. Moving on to information technology. Michelle.
Good morning. I have a few highlights for the IT division. As part of the SDCERS Cybersecurity Awareness Program, we conduct a quarterly phishing campaign. And this is not phishing with an F, but a PH. The purpose of this program is to make sure that staff is staying vigilant on emails and not getting fooled by hacker emails that can sometimes get through our filtering system. The purpose of during the campaign, an email is fabricated to look like a phishing email, and staff is intended to identify it, flag it as phishing, or delete it from their system. I'm happy to report of the 57 emails that went out to staff and contractors that have accounts in our domain, nobody was fooled by my email. And I have to say, it was a pretty good one. It really lured people in. It was a link to go to a cybersecurity awareness program. They saw that it came from a domain that they were not aware that they were supposed to get training from. It's important that staff stay vigilant because the hackers have become more sophisticated. Those emails are filtered by our email filter system, but no system is foolproof. So it's important that our staff are constantly trained on a regular basis and identify those emails and don't click on them. So this was a wonderful outcome and a summary to our campaign for this quarter. I'd like to share a challenge that we had during the last, a challenge that we were faced and overcame during the last February payroll. In addition to paying retirees and beneficiaries, SDCERS also serves as a paying agent for vendors that we have relationships with. These vendors provide us a monthly deduction file. We deduct those items from individuals' monthly checks and then summarize those totals and return that balance to the vendors. During this payroll cycle, we were notified after payroll posted that there was a substantial number of employees or individuals that didn't have their deductions withheld. A key team of individuals from the SDCERS management team and our application vendor came together, identified the root cause, and were able to remediate the issue with just enough time to reproduce those payroll files, get the files to the banks, and have our retirees and beneficiaries paid on time. I have to say that we probably had about an hour worth of contingent time between the time we processed those files to the bank and before our deadlines. And I think this is a tribute to our team's support of the mission to make sure our payees get paid on time. Since then, we did some root cause analysis and we identified what caused this issue. We've identified that, we've recorded those as tickets, and it will be prioritized in our release process. As part of this, I'd like to recognize Sandra Clausen and Fong Nguyen on their escalation and commitment to the resolution of the issue, as well as Raghu Galapati from Sagitech, who is our application vendor. At this time, I'd like to conclude my updates, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Go ahead, Tom?
Yeah, so under the help desk report, are these items coming in from employees or vendors, like on-site vendors, or is this other people?
The report is showing all tickets that get recorded in our ticketing system. So those are a combination of end user requests and also staff. So if we see that there are defects or service packs or updates that need to be completed in our environment, that's also included in there as our change management solution.
And then as far as the largest bar for others, can you just summarize what kind of items would be in that section?
I had that question too when I ran the report. We have defined categories for the different hardware and environments that we support. Other is the area that couldn't fit into any of those. They might be a cell phone request, they might be replace a mouse, they might be little ancillary requests that don't deserve their own category, but in a collective count, they do. It does look very high. It is one that we were going to look to see if we could break that down further.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you, Bobby.
And thank you, Tom. The remaining reports will not have a presentation, but the detailed reports are in our packets, and I am sure everybody's read them. Are there any questions on the remaining reports? Okay, hearing none. Are there any questions or comments from our members? And Greg, do you have any comments?
I always seem to have something. Actually, I wanted to look out to the audience and just recognize and thank Chris Brewster for attending today. Chris, if you'll wave to everybody. This is our new retiree elected representative that will be joining us. Hopefully, Chris will be, we have a special board retreat on April 14th, so hopefully you'll be there. And if not, hopefully you'll be able to join us at our May meeting. So thank you so much. It shows your dedication and commitment for being here today in advance of your board service. So welcome.
Thanks, Greg. Trying to learn.
I'm stunned. Johnny, any closed session report today? My goodness. All right, well then, we are adjourned, and the time is 9:56.